Dear colleagues, this video will show how we can do nucleus management when the lens fibers are leathery and stubborn. The main incision and one side port on the right side of the main incision has been made by this time. Now in this case I am going to stain the anterior capsule of the cataractous lens so that I can demonstrate capsulorhexis very clearly. Trypan blue dye has been injected underneath an air bubble. And now the dye is washed out. After 5-6 seconds of its injection, the dye is removed. And now viscoelastic substance is used to fill up the anterior chamber. This is HPMC, hydroxypropyl methyl cellulose. One more side port is made on the left side of the main incision. Now, cystitome is taken and the anterior capsule is incised and a capsular tag is raised like this. Some more viscoelastic substance is injected and now I take a Vanna scissor and with anticlockwise movement I perform a continuous curvilinear capsulorhexis. This is a fairly round capsulorhexis. Now hydrodissection is to be done so that the nucleus becomes mobile, so that the nucleus gets separated from the capsule. The patient is under topical anesthesia and the patient is having some photophobia. The nucleus has rotated nicely. Viscoelastic substance is again injected into the antechamber. And now in this case Oatley Catarix 3 Phaco machine is being used to emulsify the nucleus. I go with bevel up. As usual, I embed the tip into the nucleus and try to crack the nucleus, and the nucleus cracks partially and we can see a disc at the center of the nucleus. This is the core of the nucleus. So attempts are being made to chop the nucleus and it is getting cracked partially. There is no through and through crack of the nucleus from one equator to the other, and I have not been able to divide the nucleus into several fragments. So my plan is now to reduce the nuclear mass, and as I reduce the nuclear mass, the nucleus stands on its edge, and here it is, and can use the energy to emulsify the posterior plate, and the nucleus gets managed. So it doesn't matter whether we can crack a nucleus or not, but in very hard cataracts, when the cataract is grade 5 or grade 6 NS, we must make a deep crater or a deep trench and divide the nucleus into two halves at least. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult to employ this technique. Now, cortical cleanup is being done with a 23 gauge Simcoe cannula. The cortical cleanup is almost done. Now some cells are sticking to the posterior capsule. I try to remove those cells with the Simcoe, but some cells are still sticking to the posterior capsule. So I take the irrigating probe of the bimanual IA and I irrigate fluid over the posterior capsule very gently. And with this fluid movement, all the cells get dislodged and a very nice polishing of the posterior capsule occurs just by irrigation. And this is safer than using irrigation and aspiration together. Now viscoelastic substance is injected. The anticapsule is filled up with this viscoelastic substance, and we could see that the rhexis is very good. Now this is Technis 1, single piece Technis intraocular lens from Abbott, and this is my favorite lens. If the patient can afford, I usually suggest this lens. Now the lens is injected into the capsular bag. The leading haptic goes into the capsular bag. The chopper supports the optic, and the trailing haptic is also guided into the capsular bag. Now the lens is dialed and the haptics are placed in a desired meridian. Now there are lot of viscoelastic substances in front of the IOL, behind the IOL. We must remove this viscoelastic substance very nicely. Unless we remove this viscoelastic substance, invariably intraocular pressure will rise and it will cause some morbidity to the patient. The patient will not be happy. There may be even pain and STEMI corneal edema because of high intraocular pressure. So I thoroughly remove the viscoelastic substance first with this Simcoe, and then I again irrigate with the irrigating probe of bimanual IA. Irrigate the anterior chamber, go behind the eye well and irrigate the capsular bag, and by this irrigation almost 99% of viscoelastic substance come out. And at the end I use both bimanual IA, irrigation and aspiration together, and remove the remaining viscoelastic substance. But still some viscoelastic substance sticks to the corneal endothelium. I give a final wash, and in that wash that also comes out. The side ports are hydrated. In this case I have used moxifloxacin to hydrate one edge of the side ports. The other edge has been hydrated with BSS. Now this is the final wash. During this wash I flush BSS, directing the fluid towards the corneal endothelium, and the visco comes out. And this is how I form the antechamber and conclude the surgery. Thank you very much for your attention.